day. My name is Catherine Pincus, and I'm the instructor for advertising at Chabot College. And today I have with me Ken Madsen of Riley Design Associates. And students in my advertising class, along with my students in the DECA Business Club. The DECA Business Club emphasizes marketing and business and the practical aspects of business. When I met Ken, I met him in the capacity as a business person, but I quickly understood that he might be a good person and a good resource for you in the class and in the club. Each year we have a business advisory board meeting. And at the business advisory board meeting, we review a certificate, one of our programs that helps students really get jobs, and we want to make sure that the training and education they're getting in the certificate program is relevant. And this year we covered the marketing program. So Ken and his partner Dan came to the meeting, and they were very helpful in helping us think about how we structure or restructure our advertising and marketing program, because it's really very much in flux with the way the world is today. So that was enormously helpful. And in that, he happened to mention something called a creative brief. That perked my ears, because I didn't exactly, to tell you the truth, know what it was, even though I had actually seen it when he helped us with our television studio and actually had helped fill it out. But I thought it would be a wonderful thing for students to understand what this is, because this goes to the heart of your client relationship, okay? Both with marketing and advertising, and it's really a good culmination to the course that you all studied, because it really kind of brings everything together in synthesis. So thank you all for coming today to do this, and we'll get started.
So today we're going to go over a creative brief, and I call it the power of a plan. If you have a plan in place and you know what you're trying to accomplish, when you get into the working force, you're going to go in and talk to your clients, and you could sit there and say, this is what we agreed upon, this is what we're trying to accomplish, and that's what a creative brief does. So for our agenda today, I'm going to give you a little bit of my personal background, where I came from, and then we're going to actually go through the review of the components of the creative brief. And you have this today, and what we're going to show up on screen are just the questions to help us out and guide us through it. And then, as Catherine said, anything related to questions that you want to ask throughout the presentation, please do. So to give you a little personal background. So graduated from college and had a business administration and computer science background. And after college, I went right into IBM. Joined IBM in San Francisco. And during that time, worked with many different great brands. McKesson Corporation, Williams-Sonoma, Peterbilt, Safeway. What's interesting is if you look at those brands, they all have different attributes and different positionings in the market. And so the way you communicate is very important, and the creative brief helps us. Because, for example, the way I communicate to a consumer versus maybe a company like Peterbilt Motors, where it's mainly operators, there is a different tone, a different message, a different approach. And so that's what we're going to cover today. So IBM through 1995. Dan Riley is the other principal at the agency. The agency started in 1985. Dan started the business and came to me and said, hey, I'd like to have you come in as a business partner within Riley Design Associates. So we established that in 1995. And in that agency, in those years, we work with Cisco Systems. We help them with what they call collateral or brochures and website design and trade show graphics and advertising. We work with Adobe Systems, where we help them with collateral, meaning more brochures, data sheets, sell sheets. And then we also help them in their packaging. So if you've seen Adobe, Photoshop, or if you've seen Acrobat, Riley Design Associates is assisted in that packaging design. And then companies like Financial Engines, where we help them develop their brand, and the brand is the identity. and the look and feel overall, and the website. And then this is where I say that the creative brief is so mission critical. Because if you're going to a business-to-business company, that message, that tone, the way you communicate with them is obviously totally different than if we're going to be creating packaging that's going to be a retail environment. And so the creative brief should reflect that. So Riley Design Associates did the naming for this product. We did the packaging design and the advertising. And this is an example of identity. So creating a business-to-business identity for a company, and then where that goes in all the different aspects. For example, you hear about promotional ideas where it's on clothing, or it's on a cup, or it's on a luggage tag. All of these things have to be consistent and reflect that brand. Even looking at brochures, and then moving into packaging. So think about this. If we started at the beginning and we didn't have a creative brief or a plan, we would be very difficult to be successful because we don't know really what we're trying to accomplish, what you want to do as a team. Even to the point where we're doing what we call integrated lead generation programs, where mailers go out to an individual and to a company and help drive more leads, more business, more opportunity. And trade show graphics. So this is another piece of the overall marketing mix, and you're doing events and you need to make sure that your messaging and your positioning is on brand, and that's done through the creative brief. What is a creative brief and why is it important? I look at it as a foundation. It's that baseline. It's the information that we need to get. And let's say that we're a team, and then we're going to get the answers to this. So then when we go out and we create packaging design, or if we're going to create a new corporate identity, or we're creating advertising, we can go to this and say, this is the foundation of what we're going to accomplish. And then in our agency, what we do is we come back in and we say, let's see if we accomplish this, which is very valuable. So in business, closed loop process, making sure that I understood your needs, and then we created it and we met your objectives. So what we're going to do is, it's interesting, a lot of it seems pretty intuitive, but we're going to really peel this back and go over some of the specifics in the creative brief. For the first one is, what we do is we sit down with our client and say, please describe what you're trying to accomplish. What is that marketing or design need? And the client might come in and say, we need to refresh our corporate identity. It's a little bit stale, it's been around for many years, so we want to refresh our identity, and that would be the logo design. Or it could be we're going into a whole new market, and we haven't gone into this market, and we want packaging design to reflect that. Or if it is collateral, brochures, data sheets, things to help. So the first thing we do is ask them, what is that need? So in your business, as you move forward, you'll be trying to understand and distill that down to what is the essence, what do we want to accomplish here? Then what we do, and yes?
I'm sorry,
Go.
I was just wondering, how do you deal with people who don't know what they actually want or need?
So that's a great, though. So the question was, how do we work with individuals, companies that don't understand or really understand what their needs are? So as an agency, that's one of the values we bring, is that consultative. So in our company, we work in different industries, healthcare, consumer products, technology, and so we'll bring that value to them and help them through this process. That's a very good question, because the other thing is a creative brief isn't done just by your client, it's done collaboratively. And so you're sitting down and making sure you're working through it together. So thank you very much. Did that answer the question? So this is a perfect one, because when we talk about a deliverable, I might ask you, what do we want to accomplish? Why are we doing this? So one is brand awareness. And brand awareness is getting your name out there so people understand who you are. So there's a lot of times where companies, we call it the best kept secret, because people say they have the greatest product and the greatest service, but people don't know about them. So one of the aspects we'll talk to them about is, do you want to achieve brand awareness? That's where advertising is a key part of it, is in the brand awareness. Education. If we've come up with a new product or a new service that people aren't aware of, we need to educate them. So how do we educate them? And so there are certain deliverables that would be there. It might be blog, it might be social media, it might be advertising, again, to get that out there from an education standpoint. Lead generation, this is huge in business to business and business to consumer because it's all about revenue, right? We're in business to create revenue, to pay our employees, to be profitable. And in the lead generation area, that's the pipeline. That's filling up those people that are interested in your product or service. And then sales tools. If we were all the sales organization for a company, we need tools so we can sit down with individuals and say, here is our product. Here is the reasons to believe and why you would want to buy this product or use our product. And then there are many others, but in this environment, these are things you'll want to talk with your customer and say, what is the most important piece of this? So what are the business objectives? It's interesting. There are a lot of advertising and creative agencies out there that will do incredible creative work. It's fun, it's inviting, it's interesting, but does it tie back to business objectives and marketing objectives? And I'm going to share a few with you. We call these the measurements for success. And if you ever sit down with your clients and they say, well, we really don't have any plans in place right now or measurements for success, help them. Back to your question, help them find what would it be. So one example, some of them might be number of leads. And number of leads are if we're doing an outbound campaign, we want to get X amount of people that are qualified and interested. So that's lead generation, number of leads. Number of appointments. When your sales team is out there and they are working, they want to sit there and get appointments. I want to meet with you so I can tell you about my products and services, and then we have an opportunity to put a proposal in front of you and then do business with you. Next one is new clients. So we might want to, today we might have 100 clients, but to be more profitable and expand our business, we want to get 50 more new clients in the next 12 months. What's nice about that, and if you could see, I'm putting specific numbers and dates on this. So for example, 50 clients in 12 months. Now you could put it into a plan and say, how are we going to accomplish that? How are we going to reach this goal? Projected sales. So we have revenues of $10 million today and we want to go to 20 million in the next year to 2 years. So how are we going to do that? Revenue targets, and then online inquiries. As you guys know, online marketing is becoming more and more valuable to business and business to consumers. And so in this environment, you'll hear things like, I want to see so many visits to my site. I want to see so many people go to a landing page and fill out that information and give me that information. Those are criteria that you could set up for measurements for success. So these are the interesting things. In an agency, you know what the word is. When I sit there and say, when does this need to be done? What's the answer? As soon as possible. The other one, very famous, is yesterday. We needed it yesterday. Now those dates are not achievable. So what we'll do is we'll sit down with a client and say, if we're going to create a brand new website for you, expectations, it will take a month, 2 months, 3 months to do this. And so establish what that date is for completion, because then you've set an expectation with your client and they understand when you're going to have this done. The other is an overall budget. If you're working with a client, ask them that question. Don't be shy about saying, what is the budget for this? Because in our space, in the creative area, I can put together a brochure, let's say, for example, and the brochure is 4 pages. The cost of creating the copy, the design, the photography for a 4-page brochure is significantly different than if we're doing a 12-page brochure. So having that expectation of what the client thinks you're coming back with and what you deliver is setting the right expectations. So this is interesting, back to your question about what if they are not sure where they're going or what they want to achieve. This is an important aspect also. do you have established brand guidelines? And so what brand guidelines are, it includes everything. So when you look at fonts, which are typefaces, if you look at colors, if you look at photography, if you look at the logo, you want to make sure there's a consistency, because what we're trying to do as a team here, we're trying to build something that somebody sees the advertising, and then they see your website, and then they go to an event and see your trade show graphics. You want to make sure that's reinforcing the brand, the awareness. If my brochure looks completely different from my website, there is inconsistency there, and I'm not building that groundswell for them to really understand the brand. So we'll ask them, are there things that we should be aware of? Certain colors you use, certain fonts you use, certain approaches for photography. Those are certain aspects. Another interesting thing is copy. When you create copy for an advertisement or for a brochure, you have to know, is it fun? Is it inviting? Or we have a lot of medical and medical device clients where it's medical driven. It's physicians, it's hospitals that are reading this. So if I come in and I create copy that's fun and kind of whimsical, it's not going to meet that target audience. So this is again where the creative brief comes in very handy, because I want to make sure my writing style is in line with who my target audience is. Does that make sense?
Quick question.
Yes.
How do you handle recommendations if the branding isn't any good?
So the question is, if the branding isn't very good, one thing is diplomatically. And I like that you've asked that question, because there are many times we'll come into a client and they have a logo, they have an identity, and it's quite not up to speed of where they want to go. And so what we'll do is we'll talk to them and say, this is a good start, where you're going, and this is an incredible asset because this creative brief sets it. And if they say, I want to go after this market and I want to be this type of company and communicate this way to that company, we need to look at their brand. And so we'll make recommendations. The thing I'm really proud about the agency is we won't come in every time and say, you need to redo your logo or you need to redo your website. It's really back to this. What are we trying to accomplish from a business standpoint? And once we've defined that, then we can determine if we need to actually go in and change the logo. We're working with a client right now, and the logo looked like block letters, like if we were old high school letter blocks. It was very dated. They were moving into a new direction, and the executive team knew this. And they said, you know what, our brand isn't quite where we want it to be, but we don't know where to start. And so we put together what we call a menu approach, where we say, okay, here are the different assets. We can look at the logo, we can look at the website, we can look at your sales material. Where are we going to get the biggest return? That's what I love about our agency and getting involved with our clients is, what's the right thing for our client? And in the creative brief, you'll define that. That help you?
Yeah.
You're welcome. So this is a fun one. So this is interesting. So we talked about brand, we talked about the guidelines. This is called co-branded marketing. So this is a package for a gaming company. The gaming company is Gravis, but they're collaborating with Disney. And so this creative brief was very important, because if my creative team went off and started creating this packaging, we might focus all around the Gravis brand, and you would see none of the Disney aspect in it. Disney, as you're probably aware, has very, very strong brand guidelines. How you can use their logos, how you can use their Disney brands. And so this was a fun project because we had to balance the two. And through the creative brief, we identified, what their key messages were, what the visuals would be, and then how we create this. So this is a perfect example of taking a creative brief and being able to communicate to a specific audience. So where you can bring value to your clients, in our agency, we're not all things to our clients. We're not a public relations firm. We're not social media. We're not a videography company. And so there are times when you're in the creative brief, because you want to make sure you're on time and successful, you'll ask these questions. Is there any other assistance you need? Do you need copywriting? Do you need printing capabilities? Do you need fulfillment? Fulfillment is where we might be creating a package that has multiple elements that go into it. There might be a coffee cup, there might be a brochure, there might be a flash drive with sales information on it. And people kit these and send them out to prospects. So that's fulfillment. And then mailhouse services, it's amazing how important it is to make sure the lists are done correctly and the mailers are going out. And you could save significant amount of money if they do the fulfillment and the mailhouse done well. So this is the toughest one, and that is describe your target audience. A lot of clients, when you're sitting down and talking to them, they will go very broad on who the target audience is. And a target audience could be a consumer, it could be a business, it could be a pharmacist, it could be a physician, it could be an engineer. And think about those titles and those positions that I just shared with you. If you think about how you would communicate, they're totally different. Engineers are going to be more structured and more, I want to get the details, I want the information, versus a lot of us here today are marketing. Marketing, we like the high level, we like the sizzle, we like the things that are exciting, and so you're going to communicate differently depending on who the audiences are. So this is a perfect example. So if we looked at these and we said, who is the target audience? You'll see that there's a little bit of a difference. So I'm going to hand out some of these. So this is, we were approached by ArthroCare. It's a medical device company. And they were looking to do brochures. They do tonsillectomies in an incredible procedure. And so originally, the materials we were providing them were going to be for parents, significant others, guardians that would have these children, very young children, that were possibly going through a tonsillectomy. So originally when we started the creative brief, we were sitting there saying, well, the target audience would have been the parents. And we were thinking that this would be very warm and friendly, a lot of pictures of a child with a guardian, with a parent, and that type of activity. Well, the more we talked about it, we said, who's the real audience here? And it's the child. Because if I sit there and go to my son Aaron and say, you're going to go in for a tonsillectomy, he's like, oh, what is this going to entail? What are we going to do? And so this is what we did. We created Do You Know? And it takes you through before the procedure, during the procedure, and after the procedure. And it was a fun book. So I'm going to pass these around. You guys can go ahead and share them. Take a look, open them up. Then what we did was we said, okay, if we're going to have this conversation, who are we going to have it with? And so we created Tony Tonsil, Tony with an I. So it's gender, it could go either way. So I'm going to hand these out. And these were characters that were given to the parent and to the child, which is amazing. So think about where we started. If we didn't do a creative brief and we were just going to create a brochure, we would have this very nice brochure that the parents would love, but the children would not know anything. And so remember earlier we talked about also deliverables? In this, we not only did this fun fact kind of brochure, but we did a video. And the video was Tony Tonsil talking to the child and going through it. And it was an interactive video. So again, the fun part about our business and what you should be thinking about in these creative briefs, and back to your question of what do they want? What do they need? They were not thinking about an interactive video. They were not thinking about a fun book. They were thinking about a very traditional brochure. So the creative brief gave us that opportunity to come and say, okay, we got something new. We got something cool we want to share with you. And they loved it. This was an incredible campaign and did very, very well. Then if you look, I tried to stay in kind of the same category, so we're in consumer, but if you look at it from a gaming device, this isn't going to fly. If I come in here and show this type, it's too youthful, it's too young. I have to know my audience, and so you're targeting your graphics, your identity, your packaging, all those things around who that target audience is. Describe the products, the services, and the key messages that you want to communicate. This is one of the toughest challenges for clients, because when you talk about the products, they've been living their product. They know everything about their product. So a couple challenges you will experience as you're getting in there in advertising and marketing and into a creative brief is they want to share all this information with the target audience, and we get overwhelmed as a consumer, as the acceptance of this information. So you need to, again, coach them on what are those key messages. And something that I always talk about is you want to have reasons to believe. So if I said, we are the greatest gaming device out there, that is not substantiated. I have nothing that says, why am I the greatest? So if you say you're the greatest because you have more features, more functionality, you're faster, things that you can really equate to, that is so powerful when you talk about the messaging and that key differentiation. So it's really important to help them, guide them on what that messaging should be. So when you're working with a client, you want to develop a call to action. And what a call to action will be different for each one of your clients. So for example, a call to action could be, I want you to go to the website. I want you to visit the website. Or I want you to visit the website and I want to have you fill out this information. The other part of it could be, I want to have an appointment with you. I want to sit to you face to face and have this meeting with you. So that's the call to action. Sure.
Can you help quantify expected results?
We can. So help them with expected results? Absolutely. And that's a great opportunity because remember earlier we said, what is our objective? If we're setting, and let's say a client wanted to do an integrated lead generation program, and this is going to tie into one of our examples also. So we had a medical device client that went out to 50 hospitals. And the objective, the call to action was they wanted to set up an appointment and talk to them about their laser. So in marketing today, if you do email campaigns, the typical response for somebody opening an email and taking action on an email nowadays, and we all know we're overloaded with emails, correct? I mean, you probably don't read half of them or even a tenth of them. It's about 1%, 1% response of opening an email, very low. If you talk about direct mail, the old-fashioned literally getting what we call a dimensional mailer gets mailed to your home, gets mailed to your business, and you open it up. Same thing, about 1%. Somebody will take action on it. You know, all the postcards nowadays, printing is so gorgeous. I mean, it looks great. We're overwhelmed. I mean, you get these gorgeous postcards with this great photography and this great messaging, and what happens? Boom, boom, boom. You're throwing it in the trash immediately. So about 1% on direct mail. Telesales, people calling and appointments, as you know, they're blocking at home and on your cell phone, so they can't really do that. But in businesses, they can. And if you are not, if you have a do not disturb or answer, they can call you at home. And we get them all. Don't we still get them, even though they say that they're not supposed to? So in an agency, you do so many of these campaigns, you do have a track record. So for example, we've come up with a concept where we call a triple play. And it's not rocket science, but it's amazing how well it works. So we'll do a direct mail piece. We'll go out to you as an audience, and you'll get it, and it will get onto your desk on Tuesday. On Tuesday, you'll get an email also. Same look and feel, let's say, of this, and the same messaging. So I'm reinforcing not only from the direct mail piece that was sent to you, but also from the email. And then we have our team follow up by calls and do telesales calls. we're seeing about a 10 to 20% response rate on this call to action. And the call to action is, I want to have an appointment with you. So there are ways to measure those from industry standards and also the agency you're working with, and at some point it will be you as a team. You'll have that experience and you'll be able to help them with it. Is that helpful?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So in a call to action, several things need to happen. It needs to be relevant. And what I mean by relevant, it means that if I'm going to ask for a call to action, I want to make sure it's valuable to us as a team for our company, but I also want to make sure as our target audience it's valuable and relevant to them. So making sure that there's something that they're going to get out of this. Establish exclusivity, and this is where the advertising people in the room and the marketing, where you're being honest and you're being transparent, but you're setting a false expectation. And how many times have we seen where an advertisement says, before June 30th, act now before June 30th or it'll go away. We all know it's advertising and marketing, but you'll still do that, you know? We got to get down there because the sale's going to end this Sunday. There's going to be another sale. But in this case, you want to establish that exclusivity. And what's really powerful is if you go in and you say the first 50 or the first 25, here's how you can use that to what your goals and objectives are. So we sit down and we're going through the creative brief and we say, okay, we want to get 10 new clients in the next quarter. Next 3 months, we want to get 10 clients. So create your campaign and the exclusivity around the first 20 that come in and take action with us, they will get X. And I'll share with you some examples of X too, and that's the offer. So we want to get 10, so we say 20, so you have some flexibility there and you'll meet your goals and objectives. Develop a sense of urgency. We just talked about that. You know, June 30th. I always joke because my birthday is June 30th. And so it's expiration date. And it was always, when I was growing up, you look at cereal boxes, it was, this expires on June 30th. It's like, oh, really? Am I going to expire on this date? So it's just make sure you have something that's tied to a date or something that could get them to take action. So this is a perfect example. McAfee, you're probably familiar with it. It's antivirus and protection software. They had different channel partners, and a channel partner are individuals that are out there selling their solutions. So they're helping sell McAfee product. We wanted to educate them. There were so many different products and services out there. We wanted to go out and say, please, please come to our site and take the training. There are great modules in education, so please take the time. Now, if I say it in your busy day, and I know how much you guys have on your plate, if I say, please come in here and take this education and training, it's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. If I came to you and said, take this education, every time you sign up for one of the classes, and there were about 25 classes, every time you sign up, you get a token. So one goes in for a monthly drawing, or weekly, we did weekly drawings, and you would get a digital camera. So take the classes, which we want to educate you, finish the classes, your name goes in. So if I did all 25 in that first week, I got 25 tokens in there. I have a high probability of getting selected for this digital camera. So in this, I'm doing a relevance because it's like, wow, this is relevant to me. I can see why I would want to do this. It's important for me to learn about their products and services. I've established exclusivity. It's only you, and if you go through this training program, and then developing a sense of urgency, it was done on a weekly. If you didn't get in, you didn't get any tokens. And they rolled through it. 80% response in involvement of these worldwide partners that got involved. Before they were seeing about 30, 40% involvement, so we got it up to 80%. Please describe the possible offers. Now this is one that you're going to have a lot of fun with when you're out there with your clients. So clients think their products are the best thing in the world. We don't need to do offers. We don't have to have call to actions. We have the greatest widget that everybody's going to want. So they'll sit there and say, okay, our offer will be go to the website and download a white paper. If you're familiar with it, it's a technical paper that talks about their product and services. Or they might say, download this and attend a seminar. If you think about that, is there any value in there for you as a team? Going to them and reading their information or going to their webinar does not bring any value. It's not an offer. So this is an example, and this is the one we talked about. So this is a laser company, Lasering USA, and they create a laser for age spots, wrinkles, and so it would go into these great environments where doctors are helping individuals. And we created this campaign. This was advertising. It was a direct mail, the triple play we talked about earlier. This is what this did. So these went out to the doctors, to the specific locations. And then we did an email, and then we did a telesales appointment setting. We sent out 50 of these, and so we would expect out of 50, maybe we get 5, maybe at the most 5 appointments. They got 12 appointments out of this. And I would love to say it's this incredible creative, it's the messaging, it's everything that we did to help them. The company had an incredible offer. The offer was, if you meet with me, because we are in the aesthetic market, when you do before and after pictures, if somebody goes in and gets surgery or any kind of cosmetic work, they do a before and after picture. So one of the things we did is if you met with them, you would get a digital camera, which was perfect, relevant, it was valuable to them, and they would use it. Now, if I meet with you, the other thing we asked in this meeting is you have to be open to getting a proposal for this new lasering system. And so that was another piece of it. The last one and the real offer was maintenance on these could be upwards of $10,000, $20,000 on a yearly, 3-year basis. And so what the company did is they said, we will offer this and we'll give you maintenance free for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So that meant to you as a business, it was a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 savings. So even if you were considering a laser before, what a great opportunity that you're getting this and you save this money. So that is the power of an offer. So what are your differentiators? In the creative brief, this is another area that's a little bit difficult for clients. Differentiators are those things that are really different from your competitors. So what if I go out and I communicate in an advertisement or in a brochure on the website, what can I say that's really going to be differentiated and really get my attention? In technology, and coming from my IBM days, we used to call it reliability, scalability, availability. And everybody knew what those words were, but everybody said them. So you would go to all of these sites and all of these different companies and they would say the same thing. You need to be different. Here's an interesting thing too, strengths and challenges. As advertisers, as marketeers, knowing what the strengths are very important. Those are easy. Your clients will tell you, here are our strengths, and they'll get those out immediately. The challenges are the more difficult. Really have them, and it's not going to be published, but it's something that you want in the creative brief. You want to know what these challenges are. If their product is slower than the competition, or maybe it's not as cost effective, maybe I'm a premium price. Know those before you go in and start designing your ad, designing your website, designing any of these aspects of it, because there's nothing more frustrating than creating this incredible advertisement, this incredible brochure, and then the first thing the prospect looks at and says, oh, well, so-and-so does this faster or they do this better. If that happens, then you lose the sale. So make sure that you understand these challenges so that you can incorporate that into what you're doing. Special requirements. So as an agency, we work with companies that are global. Cisco, HP, McKesson. These companies have not only US-based, but they have outside of the US. And so what you want to think about is when you're doing a creative brief and you're doing your advertising is, if I did a photo of me today and I was the person that was going to be on this photography in this ad, and now we're going outside of the US to South America or Asia or all the different areas in the United States, is that going to play as well in that target audience? And so knowing that before, and we call that localization, where you change we'll do translations, right? So we'll be in the different languages. Or we look at the photography we're using. There was and you guys have probably all heard this one, the Chevy Nova. Do you remember years ago there was a Nova, and you probably heard the story. When they presented that down in South America, the Chevy Nova was doing incredibly well in the United States. That name outside of the US and in South America meant no go. So who would buy a car that's not going to go? And so those are the things that you need to think about on a creative brief. If it says, and we have a lot of our clients that say, we're just going to focus on the Bay Area, we're just going to focus on the United States, that lets you be a little bit more creative. Also, different areas in the world have different humor. We've done some campaigns and some advertisements. We're falling in the office. We're laughing so hard. And what's great is you do a focus group where you bring individuals from different parts of the world and you say, look at this, and they say, I don't get this. What is this? Why is this so funny? So think about those things. Colors. Colors are very important when you're doing it. So localization. Applications and programs. Nowadays, we're talking about technology. Ask them in advance. So you're probably familiar with sales automation tools. So sales automation tools are like Salesforce, where you put in a prospect, and I've had an appointment with them, and I've given them a proposal. Salesforce automation allows you to track throughout that entire process. A new one that's very powerful, and you guys should take a look at, is marketing automation. Marketing automation tools are like Acton, Eloqua, Marketo, and what they do, it's an incredible application. So today, and this gets a little scary, I'll share with you. So today, you could sit there and do an advertisement, and we have a special URL. And so let's say that all of us get an email. If the email and we open it up, they call it scoring in the marketing and advertising world. So I'm going to give us as a team, if we opened up that email, I'm going to give you 5 points. So there's 5 points assigned to Ken Madsen. Ken Madsen then clicked on a URL and went to your landing page. I give him 5 more points. If he downloads the white paper we talked about or your brochure, give him another 10 points or so. If he fills out the landing page and says, I want more information, give him 20 points. In our world, we don't have enough salespeople and marketing people to answer every type of prospect lead that comes in. So you want to prioritize these leads. And so you want to sit there and say, is Ken Madsen a legitimate lead that I want to follow up on? Because if I have hundreds coming in on a daily basis and I have to call them up and say, how may I help you? I don't have enough time in the day. So in a marketing automation tool, you could sit there and say, at a certain point, send that lead to our salesperson. Send it to Ken Madsen and have him follow up on it. Now here's what I said, the scary part. In these tools, I could see that Ken Madsen, the prospect, opened this email, clicked on this link, downloaded this white paper, went on these pages of your website. So from a sales standpoint, I don't come up and say, Catherine, I noticed that you opened up my email, you clicked on the third link, you downloaded this. What you do is you call up and you say, I'm Ken Madsen with ABC Company. Just wanted to share with you some of the things we're doing in this area because I knew you were already interested in it. Then they say, right, oh, how amazing. I was just happened to be on your site and I was just looking at it. So in marketing, we need to know what these applications are so that you can help your teams be successful and create toward those. We call those drip systems where it's amazing. So I can do email 1 that said, here's the offer and here is the call to action for email 1. None of us here open up email 1. So I say, okay, that didn't excite you. Let's do email 2 and change that message, change that offer. Again, nothing happened. Email 3, here's the offer, here's what we're asking you to do. And then you open it. Now all of a sudden, it takes you on a path. We're doing it for a client in San Francisco where they're doing a trial program. And so each day, we call it 15 days, I won't say the client's name, but 15 days, they will sit there and they get an email. And here is a tip and here is a video that you could see. And at the end of each one of those emails, it says, if you sign up today, you will get this. So they're monitoring which emails they're opening. They're getting an 80% response rate on opening on that, where before they were getting about 30 to 40% on that. So think about the applications. And then the last thing is, like we said, photography. Make sure that in photography, do you need that? Do we need to consider a photo shoot? And if we're considering a photo shoot, what is that about? Is it about the product? Is the product the hero? Or is it the people in the room today? What are those things from a photography standpoint? So who are your key competitors? Yes?
With that being said, what skills should students develop for today's marketplace, besides knowing applications and other?
So question is, what should students be learning and bring to the table from a business standpoint? So I will share from an agency standpoint, we have two paths in the agency. We have the creative path, where we actually have designers. So in that area, I would like to have the skill sets for Photoshop, Illustrator, all the key applications. InDesign is another one from a creative standpoint. Also for those designers though, communication skills are huge. It's so important to be able to sit there and say, what I heard was this, because we've had times internally, even in our agency, where somebody will tell me, or I'll tell a designer, this is what I want, and they go off and they are diligent for about 2 days, and they come back and go, here, this is what you asked for, and it's like, no, it really wasn't. But it was bad communication on my part, and in making sure, so communication skills in general on the design side. On the marketing side, and on the advertising side, and on the business side, the thing that we found is so valuable is the ability to learn, to know where things are and take the initiative. What I mean by that is we understand that people coming out of college today are not going to have all the skill sets and all the knowledge because everything's moving so quickly. Social media, multimedia, all these things are moving so quickly. I don't expect you to come in and know everything. But what we do expect is that you have the ability to find it, learn it, and apply it. And that is our team. The ones that excel the most are the ones that sit there and say, I want to get into this. There's a passion there. They want to understand this, and they get involved. What we've done is, for our interns, we'll bring interns in, and we'll help them with those aspects, in literally the communication aspect, get them involved with the clients. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So again, who is the key competitors? This is one you're going to hear time and time again. You'll sit down with your client and we'll say, who are the competitors? And they'll say, we have no competitors. They'll say that because they have some special features and functions, but that is not true. A competitor is not doing anything. So I love what you have and what you're offering, but I'm not even going to buy it because I'm not going to change. Call it status quo and being able to change. So make sure you influence them to really focus on the competitors. Now I'm going to go through these quickly, but these are things that we talk about now to really get to understand the personality of the client. So what programs or communications have you already presented this audience? So us as a team, as we talked about earlier in the session, about what should we be recommending? If you've already been doing email campaigns and they haven't been successful, it's terrible if I didn't ask that question and I come in and I say, hey, I got some great news. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do email campaigns. They say, we've already done those. Or we've done events. We've already done those. So ask them what they've done with this audience. Ask them what's worked well and leverage that. And then ask them, what hasn't produced the results you want? And hearing that is very helpful. Lastly is the tools and deliverables. As us as a team, if we're the agency, what can you provide me to make me better understand your target audience, your industry, and what you're trying to accomplish? Do you have a business plan? Do you have a marketing plan? Do you have old brochures? Do you have old lead generation programs? Digest as much of that as you can, because then you're coming in with new and fresh ideas instead of something that they've already done. So at this point, I want to thank you very much. I hope this was helpful. You're in an incredible environment. Things are changing so dynamically, and there's so much opportunity. But it's interesting, something as simple as this creative brief, kind of this plan, is so valuable. Yes.
Okay, so what are some of the challenges that you see in advertising?
So what are some of the challenges we see in advertising? So some of the challenges we're seeing are very interesting from a client standpoint. When you think about advertising, advertising is brand awareness, it's getting the information out there. So social media is a big challenge. It's a big opportunity, but it's a big challenge because all of our clients will sit down and go, we need to be doing social media. And then they will sit there, remember at the beginning of the creative brief, we'll say, what's the budget for that? What do we want to spend on social media? Well, we really don't have a budget for that. And it's like, okay, so we want to create a plan, we want to execute to the plan, and back to this creative brief, we want to have objectives. And a lot of the clients haven't thought through that. So that's one of the areas of a challenge is how do we get the value of social media and tie it back to those business objectives. The other is, and it's actually a challenge and a positive, years ago, if you did a placement of an ad, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. If we were doing local advertising on the radio or if we were doing it on television, it was $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. So that was a challenge on getting those kind of budgets for small, medium businesses. But what has been powerful is because of technology, now you're seeing radio spots that are 15 seconds. You're seeing Comcast Spotlight, which is amazing. For thousands of dollars, you can go in there at a targeted market. Say that we wanted to do it in the Hayward area, and you could do a specific targeted advertisement for that. The challenge, where that ties into a challenge, just to kind of close, there are so many opportunities. It's where do you start? And so that's the fun part of my business, and the challenge of my business is making sure that everything that we do in the creative brief and what we're recommending ties back to the business, that they're going to see something out of that. Because just to do a cool ad or to do a cool radio spot where, I mean, how many times do we all talk about commercials? I saw the coolest commercial, it was so funny. And then I ask you, what was the product? You know, it was the greatest commercial. It was so funny. So you need to make sure that that point is also brought across back to the business. So thank you. Very good question. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. I wish you guys all the best. And if you are interested in time at the agency or want to reach out to me, please do. And Catherine will be able to provide you my information.
You bet. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.